In this video, we're going to take a look at the Casio CTK 6250. Now, this is a very simple and very entry-level workstation. Now, for years, I had dreamed about something like this. I could never afford a full-fledged workstation that costs thousands of dollars. I always used to think, wouldn't it be great if there was a very basic workstation under $500 that enabled multi-track sequencing? Well, leave it to Casio to finally come up with such a keyboard. Now, before I go any further, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel. I post new tech reviews every week, and the best way to stay on top of all the latest reviews is to subscribe. There's no obligation on your behalf, no cost, but every time someone subscribes, it helps my channel grow. So, thank you all very much. Now, before I delve into my opinion of the Casio CTK 6250 and what you can do with it, I just want to emphasize that this video is just a very general overview. I'm not going to be getting into the specifics. I'm not going to be getting into the details of every feature that this machine can do. But I will be getting into more of those details in later videos. Again, this is just a very brief introduction to the CTK 6250. Now, I can't exactly recall how I first heard of this keyboard. I think I saw a band on TV using one, and the distinct red paneling really caught my eye. Now, the main reason I bought this was for the 16-track sequencer. And it's actually 16 tracks plus a virtual track. And the price point was amazing. Get this, I bought mine brand new for $300. Amazing. Now, how are the sounds in this thing? Well, quite honestly, many of them are very impressive. I would say that 1/3 of the included sounds are great. 1/3 are okay, and 1/3 are pretty weak, but that's just my opinion. Now, another thing, Casio claims that you can edit and program your own sounds. That's true to a certain degree, but the CTK 6250 does not offer true synthesis, and I think it's very important to be very upfront about that. There are no envelopes or filters that you can adjust. When you edit a sound, you can adjust the attack and the sustain. You basically can add different effects like reverb and flange. So really, you're not indulging in sound synthesis, you're just changing the quality of the sound itself. Now, it is nice, however, that you can store these edited sounds in the memory. And there are many types of sounds. We have pop, rock, techno, Latin, Asian, ambient, orchestral, and everything in between. Now, the piano is not top quality. I know many people, that's one of the first things they look for in a keyboard like this is how does the piano sound? And again, it is not incredible, but I would say it is certainly acceptable. There are many preset rhythms in several styles and a very cool arpeggiator. You can also create your own original beats from scratch, and there's a great set of 808 sounds, which I actually reviewed in another video, and I will post a link to that video at the end of this one. Now, the keys can be touch sensitive, although that can be turned off at any time. The display screen is nice and bright. However, maybe it's just me getting old. Maybe I'm reaching a certain age where I have a much harder time seeing tiny text, but I find some of the characters on the display screen are absolutely tiny. I will sometimes actually use a magnifying glass to see those little microscopic characters in the display screen. Now, another thing I love is it has built-in speakers, and this is great if you actually don't have an amp. And the sequencer is also quite good, especially for something at this price point. You can perform a piece on one of the tracks, and there is a quantize feature to make sure the timing is tight. Now, I do have a couple of major complaints regarding the sequencer. First of all, there is a maximum of 5 songs and 12,000 notes in the memory of the sequencer. Now, I'm fully aware I should expect these limitations on a workstation of this price. However, it would be great if you had, say, for example, 8 songs rather than 5. Just a few more would be fantastic. And maybe 10,000 more notes that you could program into the memory. And I actually would have paid a little bit more to have these features upgraded. Also, my second big complaint about the sequencer is that you cannot drop into a specific point of the song. That is, if I want to add, say, for example, a small melody at measure 89 in the song, I always have to start from the very beginning and wait for that section of the song to come before I can add it. You can't just drop in or punch in, as they used to say in the old days. Every single time you want to add something, or every single time you make a mistake with one of your melodies, you have to go all the way back to the front of the song and start all over again, which is very, very annoying. Now, there is a slot for an SD card on the back of the workstation to store your compositions, which is very handy. There is also a MIDI out, but it is a USB connection. So you will need an adapter if you want to connect your gear to a standard MIDI connection. Now, there is also a 32-channel mixer that you can use to mix your songs once you have finished recording them. And the only problem is with this mixer is that the settings cannot be saved. And this is another complaint I have about this CTK 6250. Basically, once you get your mixer settings exactly where you like them, as soon as you turn off the CTK 6250, your mixer settings are lost forever. There's no way of saving those mixer settings, which I find kind of upsetting. But again, for this price point, I can't expect miracles. Now, some of the other specs on the Casio CTK 6250 include 61 keys, it's 48-note polyphony, there are 700 preset tones, 210 preset rhythms, it is 6 watt plus 6 watt, there are bass reflex speakers, and the onboard effects include reverb, chorus, delay, phaser, flange, wah, rotary, and many more. There is an equalizer feature. There is a foot switch jack. There's an audio in jack if you want to input something like, say, a smartphone or an MP3 player or even a CD player. You can plug it into that audio in jack and then play that music through the speakers built into the Casio, which is really a great feature, especially if there's a song that you want to play along with. Maybe you're trying to teach yourself one of your favorite songs. There's a pitch bend wheel, there's a headphone jack, and there's also standard 1/4 inch left and right outputs. This thing consumes 12 volts DC power. There is an included adapter, and you can also run it on 6 D-size batteries. Now, you may be wondering, how much does this thing weigh? Well, without batteries, it weighs 5.7 kilograms, which is roughly 12.5 pounds. Now, overall, I really enjoy this workstation. If you're like me and you prefer a hands-on, hardware-based approach to making music rather than a computer-based virtual approach, and you are on a budget, I would definitely recommend the CTK 6250. And again, this is certainly not on par with full-fledged pro workstations by the big manufacturers. I don't think anyone should expect that. But having said that, it's definitely not a toy. As people often say, you get what you pay for, and to the CTK 6250's credit, you actually get a lot for the little amount of money that you pay. Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a little bit more about the Casio CTK 6250. It's certainly a great little keyboard, a wonderful entry-level workstation, and I would definitely recommend it. Now, I'm going to play you a little demo of a song that I composed on the CTK 6250, so you'll have a good idea of how this thing sounds, what the beats sound like, what the preset sounds sound like. So listen very carefully to this song, and you'll know exactly how the CTK 6250 sounds. Let's have a listen.